You booked it, episode 205. What's going on, everyone? Thank you for joining me today on You Booked It, the #1 podcast where you learn how to create a successful entertainment career. Have you joined the You Booked It community yet? It is your go-to entertainment career resource. Inside, you'll have direct access to Broadway performers, Emmy nominees, and people just like yourself navigating this industry. Learn from those walking the walk. Build industry relationships, access unlimited masterclasses, and learn how to book the job more consistently. Join free today. Tap the link in the show notes or go to youbookeditpodcast.com/invite to get inside. And now, let's meet today's guest. Okay, let's get this thing started. I am excited to introduce my guest today, Desiree Staples. Are you ready for this, Desiree?
I'm ready. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Desiree is a producer, filmmaker, actress, and writer, multi-hyphenate, experienced in short-form, episodic, and feature film content. Her works have regularly received acclaim and global film festival successes. She is currently in pre-production for the comedy female-driven feature film My Divorce Party that she is also starring in. Desiree is a proud member of SAG-AFTRA, a co-founder of the Female Filmmakers Forum on Clubhouse, and is the co-president of Northwestern University's Entertainment Alliance and UEA West. Desiree, that is a quick intro of who you are and what you've done, but why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself, fill in the gaps, and a little bit more about what you do as a professional in the entertainment industry?
Sure. Awesome. Thank you, Dane, for that very welcoming and thorough intro. I love it.
Indeed.
Indeed. But yeah, to give a little bit more context of my story or my career journey, I went to school for theater and musical theater at Northwestern University, as you heard. And I have no doubt you've interviewed other Northwestern folks, Dane, because we're just everywhere in all capacities of the industry. But I was pretty set on musical theater. I was set on Broadway. And so right after school, after I graduated, I was in New York for a summer. Then I booked some shows in Chicago. So I pretty steadily did musical theater and theater in Chicago, which I was very lucky because I think often you get on one track and you get on a musical theater track or like a straight play track, and it's hard to diverge from that. But then I also started discovering on camera and comedy and improv, and I started to really fall in love with that too. So long story short, I was doing a bunch of classes at Vagabond Studios in Chicago, which I give a shout out. They're amazing. And the Acting Studio of Chicago, both amazing places to hone your craft. And I realized I was involved in the theater too, going back for a second with Northwestern, something called the WAMU show, which is very popular. A lot of our favorite alums from there were involved. Stephen Colbert, Julie Louis-Dreyfus, I believe. Everyone was involved because it was this collaborative show, a musical every year that 100 students get together and write and perform, and the orchestra is all students, like a huge student musical kind of thing. So I would say grown-up high school musical kind of thing. I was one of the co-chairs for that, which is there's 2 or 3 a year that kind of run the whole thing and also perform in it. So I was already someone that liked to do behind the scenes things as well. And I realized with filmmaking, there's so many more opportunities to do that, from producing to writing. And so I moved back to LA. I'm from Orange County originally, so I moved back to LA about 4 years ago and jumped in the making your own content world. I think people were just beginning that. YouTube was still popular, but funnily enough, I ended up in the tourist trap area. I lived on Sunset and Vine, which was hilariously not only the heart of LA, but where all the Vine stars at the time were living. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Which was hysterical because now, of course, Gen Z doesn't even know Vine. They only know TikTok. But, Vine, I think, was the pre-TikTok. And I was a fish out of water, had, just moved from the raw, grungy, you work so hard in Chicago to do the craft, right? And then to LA, where I saw all these Vine stars at the pool making lots of money, flying around drones, modeling on the little floaties, and helicopter pilots. And I was like, you know what? There is a show here of being the most equipped in the room in a world where everyone's much more interested in the influencer, Instagram, TikTok world and lifestyle. So that inspired me to create my first show that was called The Influencers with my co-creator, Ali Kornfeld, who's a genius. She's a sketch writer and comedian and has worked in film for quite a while. And so we partnered because I was just venturing more into writing. And we made that show that is about a gal, my character, Mia, who thinks she has an interview at ICM, but it's internet celebrity moguls. And all YouTube stars, it's Chewbacca mom, it's cats, it's people that put their face into bread and make money from it because we think that's hysterical. So we made that short form pilot, which is about 9 minutes. Actually, you can check it out. The Influencers, you put The Influencers, Desiree Staples, Ali Kornfeld, it should come up. And we actually just a couple of weeks ago had our last film festival screening circuit for it. And when that came out originally in 2019. So that's been on the circuit now for 2 years, which is a little longer than usual, but obviously COVID stretched that out a bit. Mm-hmm. And that began me making my own stuff. And then from there, I worked on a feature film called Take Me to Tarzana that was released this year. That was my first feature film. And I worked on another series called It's What She Would Have Wanted that we filmed beginning of 2019 in my childhood home with a lot of Northwestern folks. Another short I produced with another Northwestern alum, Britt Lauer, is premiering at Tribeca next week. That was actually chosen for the 2020 Tribeca, but very graciously, they're premiering a lot of the 2020 shorts and episodics in the 2021 festival, which is very cool. Shout out to Tribeca. That's amazing. And that's where we are. And yeah, and the next one, because I can't stop, won't stop, is My Divorce Party, which is a female-driven feature film that we'll be shooting in Joshua Tree this October.
Right on. Very cool. Very busy. And just picked it up and have been having some great successes so quickly, which is fantastic. Love it.
Thank you.
Yeah. And let's dig into this first section here. And Desiree, look, I am a sucker for a good quote. What is your favorite quote you'd like to share with everyone?
I want to make sure I get it right, but I think I'm very close. It's a rising tide lifts all ships. A rising tide lifts all boats. I think it's a rising tide lifts all boats. That's my favorite quote. It's funny. I was having this conversation about this quote a couple of weeks ago. No matter if it's ships or boats, the goal,
just anything floating in the water.
Anything floating in the water, the goal is the same. And I do firmly believe that when people you're working with do well, that they will help you do well. And I do think in this industry specifically, because it's not like being a doctor, it's not like being a lawyer, it's not like these professions where you have a set up track that, like, if you work really hard, you will succeed. I think this is one of the few industries that is not the case. You can work really hard and have an amazing 5 years, and then you do a movie that people don't love, and then you go back to, it's lots of peaks and valleys. But at the end of the day, if you've got this community of artists that are trying to help people and help each other make cool, innovative, groundbreaking work, then I don't think you can fail. Sure, like you may not be doing major motion pictures or on all the TV shows that you want to be on, but you'll be making the work that you're excited about, because at the end of the day, I think all of us do it to make good work, not necessarily to make that bank.
Yes, for sure. And I'm so glad that you said that, because on this podcast specifically, I talk, and it comes up, I should say, so often that it's all about relationships. It's all about community. And that's how you create sustainable success in this industry, or it's a very major part of it, is your relationships in the industry.
Yeah, 100%. No, it's truly everything, because so often I have an actor friend who now is a director and they're looking for a producer, and you just never know where things are going to lead. And I do think that although wearing many hats can be overwhelming sometimes, and you do have to really structure, okay, like for me, for example, I love to produce, but I am an actor first. I just have to keep that in mind, because I think good producers are hard to find. And once people discover that you're a good producer, everyone wants you to produce their stuff,
Right.
which is great. But it is, you have to like make sure that you're following the artistic goals that you're looking forward to and that you want to do. It's just so true that you just never know what's going to happen. And I've always been a believer that, yeah, whether I'm acting or producing or writing, if it's a cool project, work begets work, and you're always going to have people you want to work with. And that's all that matters.
Yes, work begets work. That's so true. And let's get into this next section here. And Desiree, of course, you're an entertainment professional. I'm an entertainment professional. And I think that you'd agree that this industry can be one of the most subjective, brutally honest, and personally emotional industries in existence. And you know as well as I that in order to create and have a successful career in this industry, like you're having now, takes a lot of dedication and hard work. And while, yeah, there is an outrageous amount of excitement and fun doing what we do, there are also our fair share of obstacles, our peaks and valleys, like you said, and our challenges. So tell us, what is one key challenge, obstacle, or failure you've experienced in your career, and how did you come out the other side better because of it?
Wow, that's a really good question. I really like that question. I think it goes back to, I mean, I'll just talk about, I think this year has been very tough.
Mm,
Obviously, we're in the midst of a global pandemic. We're coming out the other side but I do think in terms of being an actor, right? You're like, oh, how much am I booking? How much? And I have not been on set in over a year. I went to that and inspired my divorce party of, okay, things aren't coming my way. And I see this a lot too, that you can't wait for the phone to ring. I think so many people get distracted, go, well, I'm not booking or I'm not auditioning, then I'm just going to put my energy somewhere elsewhere. And I think you have to create your own work and create your own opportunities because there's so much out there now. And I think that's important too. You have to make things that are good. There's a great panel I was on with the Duplass brothers, and everyone was talking about film festivals, and everyone was talking about, well, how do I get my short into a film festival? How do I get my next feature into Sundance, Slam Dance? And of course, people are talking connections, and people are talking trying to get in with that festival and work there for a few years or meet programmers. And I love that Jay Duplass said, you have to make an exquisite film. just make just make a film that's so good that they are going to accept it. At the end of the day, sure, it's like college, right? It's, at the end of the day, you can have the the extracurriculars, or you can have the connect to the school, but if you don't have the grades and what they're looking for, you're not going to get in. And I just love that without all the bells and whistles, it's just about creating something exquisite and original and authentic. And it's really hard. It's not it's very much easier said than done, but I think a lot of people in the industry, there's an instant gratification thing going on, maybe in everything, maybe in 2021, maybe in social media, there's an instant gratification thing going on,
yeah.
but you just got to put in the work. So I think my frustrations with not auditioning as much or not being on set as much and doing what I wanted to do, I went, what can I do? And that inspired Heidi Weitzer, who is the writer of My Divorce Party. I was in a writers actors group with her that I still am. Shout out to Deadline Junkies that's in LA. Check them out if you're in LA, or even not, because they're doing virtual script readings right now. And that is such a great experience because every week it's 3 writers putting up 20 pages. And it's fantastic because you get to see new work every week. And as an actor, it makes me better because I'm cold reading the scripts. Anyway, saw the script, loved it, and just was inspired to make it. And here we are a year later, making it in a few months.
Oh, so cool. Love that. Yeah, this industry is crazy, and I'm really on board with creating your own work. And look, I've got this podcast, right? It's a big thing to help us stay inspired, to keep our skills honed, and opportunities arise from just doing anything. But also, when you do that, when you keep putting the energies out and you keep putting out good work and you keep doing your craft, other things inevitably find you, and you can continue to do it all.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And I feel very lucky because it used to not be this way. 10 years ago, I think a lot of people, you were put in one profession. You had to be a writer, you had to be a producer, you had to be a director. And now we're seeing more and more. I think the best shows, I think I May Destroy You. I think Fleabag. Now Reese Witherspoon with Big Little Lies. She's finding her own IP. She's finding her own opportunities. It's just very inspiring and very cool where actors are starting to claim their power. And I'm definitely a much better actor, I think, as a producer now, because I know the ins and outs of what makes a good set. And I think it's so important that I think most people in theater understand this, because even the actors, everyone goes through Tech Week and Hell Week and all that jazz. But it's a
Yeah.
little different with film, where from the water bottle to the plant in the background to the cot, like all these things were to the trailers, every single thing someone had to take the time, the producers, the PAs, someone on that crew made happen. And once you produce your own content, and I always suggest that actors do, because then they understand how difficult and what a miracle any film is. And that's why now too, whenever I see anything, even if it's a film I don't jive with, I really think every film is a miracle because of just all the planning and stars aligning. And same with theater, behemoth obstacles that come our way. Yeah, so just thankful that I do feel like a very well-rounded performer now that I know the behind the scenes and the front of the scenes.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, that behind the scenes stuff is no joke. I also have done quite a bit of corporate production work for conventions and conferences. For instance, Amazon's AWS, it's got over 50,000 attendees. The
Right.
logistics of setting something up like that is mind-boggling when you finally see it all out on paper and you see all the little elements that have to go in to make the thing a success. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's nobody knows.
Nobody knows. Exactly right. Until you see it the first time, you're like, oh, I get it now.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you know building industry relationships are the most important assets you need to create a long-lasting entertainment career? And don't take my word for it. Guest after guest here on the podcast have attributed some of their biggest career moments to their relationships. That is why you need to get yourself inside the You Booked It community. You'll learn what you need to do to get noticed, and make sure your headshot stays in the callback pile so you can book the gig more consistently and create a successful career. Tap the link in the show notes or go to youbookeditpodcast.com/invite to get inside free today. Beautiful. Let's move on to a time that I like to call your spotlight moment. That one moment in time you realized, yes, I am going to be an entertainer for a living, or maybe it was, yes, this is what I need to be doing in the entertainment industry. Tell us about that.
Wonderful question, Dane. I do think it goes back. I touched on it a little bit, but it is a combo of, I think all of us have that high school moment of, I got to do Les Mis, that, it's one of my favorite musicals of all time. And I knew in high school doing Fontaine and Les Mis that I definitely wanted to perform. And then in college, which was really cool, I did a original work called Soup for Beast, SOUP, Soup for Beast. Very abstract, very dark, very quirky. It was this very cool play. Shout out to Evan Toohey, who is a TV writer in LA, also Northwestern alum, of course. And it was a very cool time traveling play, but it all took place in one cabin where it was this younger couple and older couple in the same cabin. And you didn't realize that it was the same couple in different times of their lives. So that was really cool. And it was a huge comedy and very metaphorical, like this whole beast. It was really smart and ingenious and layered. And I played a witch in it, which made sense because there's magic. This undead witch who comes out of a refrigerator. And it was crazy. I had never done something so comic and over the top before, and strange, and these female just powerhouse, what is it, 11 o'clock number kind of roles. And it was a play. So I suddenly went from being the singer to, oh, Desiree's like a very complex and can be funny actress. And then that opened the whole door of improv. Because I think you do have to have a moment of, as a comedian, what your voice is and what your humor is. And that was huge for me to allow myself to be more than a singer and more than a musician. Yeah. And then from there, doing that WAMU show again, where I got to then take, okay, with WAMU, we did some adaptations because it's a student written show and public domain was our best friend. So we did a hybrid of The Wizard of Oz, Alice in Wonderland, and Peter Pan. And it's called Flying Home. Won't go into the whole story of it, but it combined those three stories. And it made the most sense that, as with my very dry sense of humor, I'd play the Wicked Witch of the West. And I wrote a song called Cursed, where she was cursed that everyone cared more about her sister. And this was pre-Wicked. So, a totally different take on it, that she was just like this very dry, Mae West witch kind of thing.
Yeah.
Never got what she wanted. And that all totally inspired where I am today, and going, okay, how can I turn this on its head? Even with my divorce party now, I'm very interested in work that's, okay, divorce is something that a lot of people struggle with, something that's not talked about a lot, something that people are shameful of. How can we turn this on its head and make something fun out of it? So my divorce party is Bridesmaids meets The Hangover, but 5 women. And that is very exciting to me, and taking topics that we put under the rug or don't know what to do with and make them fun, or at least maybe not funny, but yeah, I mean, there's humor in everything, right? So it's just about trying to find a way for these stories to be about self-growth and realization and progress and connection, because we all need to laugh, and that's why we love stories, right? It touches us as humans of something that we're needing and looking for.
Yeah, for sure. I love it when films or content or anything take really awkward or challenging or controversial topics and they make it more accessible through humor. I think Sacha Baron Cohen is probably one of the best at doing that.
Oh, yeah.
But it's amazing because it's all the stuff that everyone's got in their brain. Everyone has, experienced something like that at some level usually, and it is relatable, but we need that kind of bridge to get us there.
Yep. Yeah. And an interesting perspective on it, and changing what we've seen before and changing the norm. And I love that.
Yeah, for sure. And let's take a moment to talk about the present. You've alluded a little bit, but what projects are you working on now? What are you looking forward to? And, we're coming out of this global pandemic. How do you see the entertainment industry moving forward in the next couple of years?
Whew, that is the $1 million question. We will see, but I'll start with that part and then I'll circle back to what I'm working on right now. But I think we learned how important content was more now than ever. I think this year especially, I can tell you so many shows. I can remember parts of the pandemic based on what I watched. I was like, okay, I watched The Great on Hulu like in last April, and then Devs, and I think that's really important, because when we're in something strange like this, time has become so strange. It feels like it was yesterday when this all started, but here we are, which is cuckoo bananas. So I just think that shows how important content is. And that was something always where it was like, what are you watching? It was at least a place that me and my friends could connect, even if everything else felt like a dumpster fire around us, where we could talk about what we're watching and connect with those characters. So I think we're back in a big way. Obviously, film has been moving a bit quicker than theater. I know things are back to production with protocols, and as the vaccine continues to be used and numbers go in a positive way, we're going to keep producing at a very rapid rate because we've been backlogged for so long. So I think the next year or two are going to be pretty amazing in terms of jobs and opportunities and content, because I think everyone is very inspired to do anything that has nothing to do with the pandemic, which is great.
Right.
And theater, I have a couple of friends on Broadway right now, and I just hurt for them so much this past year, because you can't work around that it's a live theater event with hundreds or thousands of people. That is the whole goal. But it looks like October is coming back strong for Broadway. And I do think it's been an interesting time too of experimenting with online work. Like, I have to give a shout out to this production company. His name is, the co-founder is Neil Davidson. They did a show called Tape, and it was a Zoom performance, but used Zoom in a way that was very interactive and very innovative and very new. So I think we're going to see that too. So I think we're going to be back and bigger than ever. And I think we're always going to do Zoom meetings. And I think we're always going to do interviews like this because it's too easy. But
Honestly.
yeah. And in terms of what I'm working on, what's coming up is a short I produced. It's a proof of concept episodic called Circus Person, directed, written, and starring Britt Lauer. That is premiering at Tribeca next weekend that I'm very excited about. And that'll be live. And we're so pumped that Tribeca is coming back in a major way. It's the 20th anniversary, and they're doing all of their screenings outdoor, which is incredible. And props to them. They've been such heroes in this. And I also have another episodic series that I'll quickly do the elevator pitch for, called It's What She Would Have Wanted. I also act in that. It's also female driven, about these gals who make a pact in middle school that if anything happened to any of them, they would break into their childhood home and make sure to steal anything incriminating so their parents wouldn't find out. Let's say embarrassing letters or journals or drugs or who knows what, or delete texts, to take away anything embarrassing before anyone else would. And then our girls grow up to be about my age, mid to late 20s. And one of the girls does get in, you don't know how she passes away, and I'm not going to spoil that, but one of the girls dies unexpectedly. And these girls decide they're going to fulfill the pact. They break. She was living back at her childhood home, like so many people have been in 2021. They break into it and they find out a lot more than they bargained for, which sets them on this journey and mission and mystery of what happened to their friend, and how with social media she appeared to be very happy and thriving and living her best life, as we like to say, that there was a lot brewing underneath. And what's cool with the mystery that we're excited with this series is using social media as breadcrumbs, like DMs and dating apps and who she's Snapchatting, in order to figure out what happened to her in her last couple weeks. So that actually is a part of the Tribeca Creators Market, which I will also give a huge shameless plug to check them out if you have an episodic series. They're really passionate about finding groundbreaking, new, young talent, young in the terms of green entering the industry, not necessarily. And I cannot recommend them more for creators and people that are creating episodic content. So check out the Tribeca Now showcase and that creators market. So we're in that creators market. So actually this week we're going to be pitching the show through the creators market, and fingers crossed, finding next steps and making it happen.
Very cool. That sounds incredibly interesting. I would love to watch that.
Oh, so I'll send it your way. We have a proof of concept for that too. And I'll just quickly talk about that a little bit. I think that's so beneficial if you have a series that you want to do. I think so many people talk about, this is what I would do. This is what I would do. And write the pilot. And then you agonize over that. Just make the darn thing. Just even if it's 12 minutes, get 3 days. It's What You Would Have Wanted with us took 3 days at my house. People we love, a lot of people from school, and just made this jumping off point for the series that now it could be a feature. It could be a limited series. It could be a standalone piece. You don't know, again, what the opportunities are. You just have to build it and they will come.
Very cool. Such great advice right there as well. Just create it, make it, do it.
Yep.
Perfect. Well, it is time to move on to one of my favorite sections in the interview. I call it the Grease Lightning Round. I am going to ask you a handful of questions. I want you to answer them as quickly and concisely as possible, one after another. Are you ready?
Woo! All right, let's see.
All right, first question. What was the one thing holding you back from committing to a career as an entertainer?
Oh, wow. Fear, insecurity?
Second question. What is the best piece of advice you have ever received?
Always make your bed first thing in the morning. Start
the day off right.
Yeah.
Perfect. Third question. What is something that is working for you right now? Or if you'd like to go pre-COVID, what was working for you before our industry went on pause?
I think just being very open to collaborating, and any person I wanted to work with, even if it was writing or producing or acting, that has really been awesome. Just collaborate with people that you love and you want to work with.
Great. And the fourth question, what is your best resource? Whether that is a book, a movie, a YouTube video, maybe a podcast or piece of technology you found is helping your career right now.
Good one. I love another podcast, Audrey Helps Actors. That's amazing. I wonder if other people have mentioned that too. Getting a very honest view on the industry is so important. And once again, someone that's seen many sides and facets of it. So check out Audrey Helps Actors.
Brilliant. And the fifth question, if you had to start your career from scratch, but you still had all the knowledge and experience you've collected from your career in this industry, what would you do or not do? Would you do anything differently or would you keep it the same?
I think I would be a little bit more, what's the word? I would cherry pick my projects a little bit more. I think I had a time where I think all actors have this, right? Where you're like, I want to do everything and every project. And I was splitting myself pretty thin of auditioning for things in Chicago and auditioning for things in LA. Like I just wanted all of it. And I think narrowing your focus is really helpful.
Yes, agreed. But like you said, I think we all experience that. I think there is a point where you have to hit that edge. You have to go, oh, this is too much.
Yeah.
And then pull it back because you don't know how far too far is until you're there. Actually get there.
and decide. I mean, that's been interesting too. I guess you don't have to decide whether you want to do theater. I'm based in LA or film in LA, but you kind of do. That was really interesting for me of trying to audition for plays while doing film, while making my own content. What is it? Like you can only do 3 things well at a time. So I think for me, finding my passion of filmmaking and make my own content, I was like, okay. And you know what? If I want to come back to live theater, I totally can and will. But being honest with yourself of what your bandwidth allows is huge.
For sure. And the last question, what is the golden nugget knowledge drop you've learned from your successful career in the industry you'd like to leave with our listeners?
I don't know if it's a golden nugget, but I do think it's just really important to do the work and be good and just be the best version of yourself as much as you can, because film and theater are such labors of love. You're working for 12 hours. If you can be someone on my set that shows up, tries to help, sits and doesn't try to rock the boat, like I will hire them every time because they get it. I think a lot of people, especially newer, and it's not malicious, I'll tell you what, like so many people just want to make it about them. And I just heard this great story. I'm supposed to be quick, but I heard this great story about, I have a friend on set right now who, or she just finished a feature and it was her first big feature where she was the lead. And she was talking about how she was first on the call sheet and wanted to set an example for the rest of her cast, which I have to do. I'm going to be doing later this year. And she was so tired just because she was the lead and it was very like focused on her character. And there were day players that came in and really wanted to talk to the main actress. And she was just so tired. All she wanted was to like close her eyes and be in the corner, and had nothing to do with not loving that day player or not. Just so putting yourself also in the shoes of some of these crazy celebrity and major actors that try to help them have a better day than you needing validation of being on set that day.
So good. That is golden advice. I'd say that's golden advice right there. Amazing.
We got there. I didn't start with a golden nugget, and that was like a 3-pronged answer. But that was one I didn't think of till recently, because you don't think of it that way. It's just, if I was working 13 hours a day on a major movie, then I would be happy. Then my career would be set. Your career will be set, but you have to then change how you take care of yourself and your self-care. And sometimes that does look like you can't be hosting the whole time. You can't be worried about, I hope. You can be I'm not saying be mean to people. That's not what I'm saying at all. The opposite of that. But just try to understand, as in life, what they're going through, and your experience may be very different than theirs if you're on set for 3 days and they've been on set for 4 months.
Exactly right. There you go. And to wrap up this interview, Desiree, it is time to give yourself a plug. Where can we find you? How do our listeners connect with you? Is there anything you want to promote? Yes, please check out so many things. And we didn't touch base on this, but this is great
place to put it in for my divorce party, we are currently securing financing through a platform called WeFunder that I highly recommend as well. If you have questions about that, I'm on Instagram at Desiree Staples. That's Desire with an extra E, Staples like the store, at Desiree Staples. Follow me there, message me there. Had a great experience with investors and getting this film off the ground, but we are still looking for investors. So check it out. It's grown up Kickstarter where you can throw in $100 or more and also get a piece of the pie of the film. So that's pretty cool and have a part in it. So check that out at wefunder.com/mydivorcepartythefilm. We also have My Divorce Party, the film Instagram. And for It's What She Would Have Wanted, we have an It's What She Would Have Wanted film Instagram, and Circus Person has a Circus Person Instagram.
Perfect.
Yes.
Yes, and I will be putting the links to everything that Desiree just said into the description of this episode, so you can easily just click and connect with all of the different projects and with Desiree herself. And also be sure to share this podcast with your fellow entertainers, coaches, teachers, arts and entertainment educators, and anyone you know aspiring to create a career in the entertainment industry. You Booked It is the #1 resource of expertise on how to actually create a successful entertainment career. Case in point, everything Desiree gave us today, all of those fantastic golden nuggets, everything about how to work in different parts of this industry, transitioning to different parts of your career, and doing your own work. So if you like this episode, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next one. Desiree, thank you so much for being here. I'm so glad we got connected.
Yes, thank you, Dane. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, Chris Gaunt, who I believe connected us. So thank you, Chris. And thank you again, Dane. And thanks for providing this resource for performers and those in the entertainment industry. I think it's really important for us to talk about not just the successes, but the obstacles and the struggles, because life is long and full in many things. And I think that when we learn from each other, that's the best way to improve ourselves.
Well said.
Awesome. Thank you, Dane.
Thank you so much for listening today. If you enjoyed this episode and want more like it, be sure to smash that subscribe button. Also, be sure to join the You Booked It community. Inside, you can connect with your people, build industry relationships, unlock unlimited masterclasses, and access the tools and training you need to create sustainable career momentum. Get your invite link right now. Tap the link in the show notes or head over to youbookeditpodcast.com/invite, and we'll see you there.